Man, I love beat 'em ups. I wish you could play this at home.
Yeah, but there's no way this is gonna fit in your house.
Captain Commando!
So you kids want to see a future where an arcade fits right under your TV?
Yeah!
Then come with me to 2018. Say hello to the Capcom Beat 'em Up Bundle. This bodacious bundle comes packed with 7 of the hottest arcade games of all time.
Final fight!
Knights of the Round! King of Dragons!
Hey, Captain Commando, that's your game!
Wow, Warriors of Fate! Plus it's got Armored Warriors and Battle Circuit! I never thought they'd come home!
Hello, and welcome back to an all-new season of Drink the Video Games. I'm Brian, and in this season I'll be heading to the arcade and losing more than a few quarters to some of the games that defined arcade action in the late 80s and early 90s, the beat 'em up. I'll talk about how they got started with those early brawlers, how they successfully made the leap from two-player arcade action to couch co-op, how the legacy of these games still inspire video game creators to this day, and of course, we'll mix up a cocktail along the way. But for now, let's go back to 1984. The year is 1984, December of 1984, and a new arcade game is about to hit the market. Taking inspiration from several martial arts films of the time, game designer Takashi Nishiyama, who had created 1982's Moon Patrol, would take elements from that game, a side-scrolling arcade shooter, and incorporate hand-to-hand combat, Moon Buggy out, Bruce Lee in. Spartan X, from Irem Software, would not only be one of the earliest movie tie-in video games. Spartan X is a Jackie Chan comedy martial arts movie in which Jackie Chan, aka Thomas, has to protect Sylvia from a gang of henchmen. It would also be the first game of a brand new genre, the Brawler. In the game, you take on the role of Thomas, and your objective? Climb the 5 floors of the Devil's Temple, fighting off every bad guy in your way until you save Sylvia from the dreaded Mr. X. Save Sylvia, and the game restarts at a higher difficulty, and on until you run out of quarters. Early the following year, Kung Fu Master, as it would be known outside of Japan, would make its way to the rest of the world, and gamers loved it, lauding the graphics, the gameplay, the story, with reviewer Claire Edgley stating that, quote, "If you thought Karate Champ was good, wait till you try this one," end quote, in the April of 1985 edition of Computer and Video Games. And yeah, Karate Champ is great. Released in 1984 by Data East, Karate Champ inspired a lot of the head-to-head fighting games that would come out over the next decade. But what Kung Fu Master did was create something new, varying gameplay, more story and plot-driven than other fighting arcade games, and most importantly for the blooming genre, it set up some rules that would be loosely followed by the majority of beat-em-ups that would follow in its footsteps, serving vigilante justice and saving the day through swarms of rough and tough types with a boss fight to clear each level. Now that we have the genre started, let's take a quick detour to the barcade so we can try out a few beat-em-ups, and Michaela from Drink the Movies can help us with a cocktail that's going to get us into the mindset of making our way through a few of these classic beat-em-ups. Well, hello, Michaela. Thank you so much for meeting me at the barcade today, and welcome back to Drink the Video Games. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks always for having me. I appreciate it so much. What are we doing today?
Absolutely. So today we are getting into Season 4 of Drink the Video Games. This season I'm doing a genre of video game that you might not be familiar with. It is called the Brawler, or the Beat 'em Up. And that genre gets introduced to the world in 1984. So the genre is almost as old as we are. And you might not know a lot about it, but you actually mentioned one in the very first episode of Drink the Video Games. We were just chatting about our video game memories and things like that, and you made mention of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game. And that came out in 1989. Now, you might not have known anything about the game that was going inside of that machine on the screen, but you told me that April O'Neil on the side of that machine was different than April O'Neil in the movie, and that is true. But what is also true is that this was a beat-em-up game. You'd pick your Ninja Turtle, you'd fight a bunch of bad guys, and the screen would scroll, you would fight a bunch more bad guys. Do you know anything about this genre, Michaela?
I did play a lot of the Alien versus Predator game, maybe. And that was kind of similar, where you had a mission and then you had to go through all these rooms and you could pick who you wanted to be. That is exactly what it was like playing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. And the graphics were really cool for 1989 when it came out. I do remember that, thinking like the glass shards would occur in your outside, you're in the space, and I was like, how do they get the glass to look that shiny? Like, it was really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And it's a video game genre that I've liked for a long time. I'm really terrible at them, but they're fun. They're some of my earliest video game arcade memories of playing, and I wanted to revisit a couple of those this month. But here in this introductory episode, we're just talking about beat 'em ups as the genre, kind of getting into the history of all of those. But we need something that's going to be perfect here. As we're at the barcade, we're going to try out a couple of these. So I thought we could mix up a Honey Plum Smash. Michaela, this is a delicious drink. Could you put one together for everyone?
I sure can. Well, I'm gonna try. You're gonna start with a plum, and then you're gonna muddle that in the bottom of a shaker with a bar spoon of honey syrup. Okay, honey syrup. If you don't know what honey syrup is, it is equal parts water and honey. I play with that a little bit. You're gonna add honey to some hot water. You're not going to want to boil it. You're just going to want to incorporate that honey and then let it recool. You might even do a 2-to-1 ratio. It really just depends on how sweet you want it. But what you want it to be is you want it to be syrupy like honey without it having that super hard consistency, because especially if you're going to add it to a drink, you're going to want to account for that. So you're going to take this muddled plum honey syrup kind of concoction that you've made. You're going to add a dash of Angostura bitters and a dash of orange bitters. And then you're going to add 2 ounces of your favorite bourbon. I recommend not spending a ton of money with a high proof bourbon here. Anything that you have on your regular shelf will do just fine. Okay. You're going to want to make sure that you shake this and emulsify everything, but then you're going to want to double strain it into a rocks glass with ice, because if you don't do that, it's going to be really thick and you won't like that. Then you can garnish it with an orange peel, and you're going to enjoy it. It's really it's really interesting. It's a really interesting mix. I'd never seen a plum smash before. We've seen berry smashes with bourbon. We've seen lots of other fruit, but never a plum.
Plum is delicious, and I think that it goes really well with the bourbon. It's kind of this very dark, luxurious kind of flavor to it, and I thought it was perfect for this time of year. Right, we're into December, so it's a little bit richer. It's a little bit cozier tasting. I feel like this would be something that would be good to sip on either here at the barcade today, or just kind of throughout the winter here as we're playing video games on the couch at home. Mix one of these up. I think that it's going to be really good. I don't know, it's just something about it spoke to me when I was thinking about brawlers and beat 'em ups. And one of the fun things, if you go to a barcade, they're going to have a lot of themed drinks there. So maybe you have a good one that you've tried at your own local barcade. So send that our way. So so that is the Honey Plum Smash. Definitely try one of those out. And thank you so much, Michaela, for joining us today. Maybe you should go find that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle arcade game. Throw a couple quarters in there and see if you can go and save the day.
Save the day, save April, something. I'm on it. I'm gonna go find one right now.
Go ahead and mix up a Honey Plum Smash, and for now, let's get back to the beat 'em ups.
Double Dragon, the greatest martial arts video game legend ever. Kick it off with the million-seller Double Dragon 2 for your NES. And now, the incredible Double Dragon 2 Legend comes to Game Boy. The most outrageous portable street fighting action ever. And for world-class martial arts action, it's got to be Double Dragon 3. Total Double Dragon action for NES and Game Boy. From Acclaim, choose your weapon.
The world wouldn't have to wait long for 2 of the genre-defining games to follow, and they would both come from the same game-designing genius of Yoshihisa Kishimoto. Working for Technos at the time, Kishimoto would design 1986's Renegade and 1987's Double Dragon. Renegade would take the formula created by Kung Fu Master, but implement a new way for the player to experience the genre. Now you can move your character horizontally and vertically, because the levels were being fed to the gamer on a conveyor belt sort of progression. The next fighting zone would sort of scroll in and give you a new area to do battle. This is commonly called the belt scroll, so instead of staying on the same plane the entire game, now you had choices to make about what strategy to use for the different enemies you'd be facing off against. With the additional movement possible, Renegade also introduces gamers to combo moves or special attacks, something that will be key for the genre moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, Double Dragon would release to arcades less than a year after Renegade. I'll be doing a deeper dive on Billy and Jimmy Lee, but Double Dragon is important for the genre. On the gameplay side, Double Dragon is commonly credited with being the first game to allow players to pick up and use dropped enemy weapons, and more importantly to the new genre, it allowed for two-player co-op gameplay. Double the fun, double the quarters. Speaking of quarters, there are a lot of those as Double Dragon becomes one of the highest-grossing video game cabinets not only in Japan, but in the rest of the world, and that would tell game makers that the audience for this genre was huge and usher in a flood of new beat-em-ups, not only in the arcade, but in the emerging home video game system market.
Genesis brings you Golden Axe, the 16-bit arcade challenge. You travel a treacherous route, face the most powerful enemies, conquer and seize the Golden Axe. That's the plan, but there could be a surprise ending. Golden Axe from Genesis. If you buy 2 Sega Genesis games, you can get free stereo headphones. Look for details at participating stores. Sega Genesis, the masters of arcade entertainment. Genesis System and Golden Axe each sold separately.
This period in the late 80s led to a rapid growth for the genre, where the games kept feeding each other. An arcade game would come out, become a huge hit, then it would show up on your home console unit until the next arcade mega hit would release, and the cycle would repeat. The port of Double Dragon was the first beat-em-up I played at home on my NES, and I wasn't alone because it was one of the top-selling games for the Nintendo console in 1988. Bad Dudes vs. Dragon Ninja by Data East and Final Fight by Capcom were 2 other arcade hits that quickly made the leap from coin-op machines to home consoles, and there were sequels to arcade games that just went straight to the console, like Golden Axe 2 and 3. With more memory, faster processors, and new game design tools at the ready, some skipped the arcade altogether and went straight to the consoles, like 1989's River City Ransom. But probably the most notorious of console beat-em-ups, and maybe the crown jewel of the genre, was the series that gets its start in 1991. Developed and published by Sega, Streets of Rage.
Genesis. Absolutely Sega Genesis.
Quackshot starring Donald Duck.
Sega Genesis.
Streets of Rage.
Sega Genesis.
Go with Quackshot, Streets of Rage. Just 2 hot names of the games. Sega Genesis system and games sold separately.
Now, I'm planning to do an entire episode dedicated to the legacy of Streets of Rage, but to say it defined the genre through the first half of the 90s would be fair, and it was almost as important to Sega as Sonic the Hedgehog was in driving sales of their video game systems. And maybe most importantly to video game history, it also turned the tide on what you might expect from a home console, which it seems was finally catching up to the processing power of the arcade games.
Alien, Predator, sci-fi's baddest boys together at last with a little time to kill. You're a predator on a planet infested with aliens. You've got high-tech weapons, they've got mutant guardians with special powers, and the big mean queen that'll kill to protect her eggs. 10 awesome levels. You hunt with the moves, the spears, discs, lasers, and invisibility powers, but they keep coming with acid fangs and claws. You're a hunter-predator. You came to fight. You came for the action. You came for the aliens.
Another direction that Brawlers went in the late 80s, 90s, and even to this day was the IP crossover. These were always my favorite to play as a kid, and honestly the only ones I've played as an adult. Video games and movies, comic books, TV shows have always had a role to play in promoting each other, but something seems so perfect about taking characters you love, putting them in situations that are familiar, and letting the player fight their way through the levels. 1989's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 1991's The Simpsons, and 1992's X-Men were some of the arcade games I found myself losing quarters to at the local skating rink back in my childhood, with others like Alien vs. Predator, The Punisher, and Batman Returns also giving gamers that crossover excitement.
Ricky and Cuneo! They've been kidnapped! I'm coming, Cuneo! Ricky, I'll save you! Stay down! Kill this guy's face!
Do this!
We'll find whoever took our boyfriends and beat them into the street! Yeah, what she said!
The beat-em-up is a genre that came alive at a time when arcades still ruled, and these games were perfectly suited for them. They were easy to learn and hard to master, They chewed through quarters, and they were fun. Who wouldn't love to pick a Ninja Turtle and go after some Foot Clan baddies with a friend or two? And their legacy has endured. Now sure, the brawler genre spent some time on the back burner, but in 2008, a game called Castle Crashers would release on the Xbox Live Arcade. Developed and published by the Behemoth Studios, this game would reignite the fire of the beat-em-up flame and usher in a new era of these games, selling an alleged 10 million copies on various platforms. We've seen things like 2010's Scott Pilgrim vs. the World by Ubisoft, 2019's River City Girls by WayForward, and a current favorite of mine is 2022's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which makes for some of the most fun couch co-op around.
Ultra's improved your favorite arcade game. First, we added 2 new levels, then packed it with bigger, stronger enemies, and a ton of extra foot soldiers. Next, we punched up the action with knockout new attack moves and crime-fighting scenes like the Ninja Castle. If that doesn't swell your shell, we made one more small adjustment. Introducing the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, today's biggest hit. For your NES. Free personal pan pizza coupon from Pizza Hut in every box.
Brawlers, beat-em-ups, whatever you want to call them are great. They allowed for more storytelling than their fighting game counterparts, and it's a genre that I've always been drawn to, though never been particularly good at. I remember crushing hundreds of hours into my TMNT arcade game Nintendo cartridge back in my childhood, or trying to get through Double Dragon every time I'd secure it from the library rental desk, and I'd always choose Cyclops in the X-Men game anytime I ever saw one at the arcade. And this month I'll be taking a closer look at 2 of these genre-defining games, Double Dragon and Streets of Rage. I've also got plans to head into the sewers with the Ninja Turtles, but that's a story for a different day. So now I want to know, what are your favorite beat-em-ups? Are they a classic from the arcades? Are they one of the newer IP adventures? And more importantly, did you mix up a Honey Plum Smash to have as we revisited this nostalgia-fueled genre? Let me know on my social media. It's at Drink the Video Games on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. And if you want to support this podcast or Drink the Movies and get some bonus content, Patreon is the best place to do that. We do gaming chats, bonus episodes, behind the scenes, live streams, lots of stuff. That's at www.patreon.com/drinkthemovies. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Drink the Video Games. But don't worry, I'll be back next month for a closer look at one of the best in this genre, Double Dragon. Cheers.